Welcome to the Murder Mukbang Show. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Brittany.
And today we're going to be talking about Jerry Brudos. But first we want to talk to you guys a little bit about what's going on in the world. As we all are aware, there is a pandemic going on with the coronavirus, COVID-19. And Brittany and I both work in the veterinary field, and we have been deemed to be essential employees. And it's kind of hard because we are wanting to provide a service to animals and to owners of those animals, but also we have to really worry about and kind of focus on ourselves and our families. And it's been a tough week for us.
Yes. And we want to make this really clear. We 100% appreciate the fact that we still have jobs.
Absolutely.
That we are working, and we're not one of these people that are sitting at home, laid off, worried about how they're going to pay their bills.
Yeah.
We are extremely grateful that we are still able to work every day.
But it's still challenging.
It's challenging.
It is so challenging because we are being exposed to the coronavirus and to people who aren't quarantining themselves, which then in return I'm exposing myself to my children and to my children's babysitters, and then to her children, and it's really hard. It's but we signed up for it. This is what we signed up for. This is the job that I have chosen to make my living, and I'm not going to back down from it. So we're just going to take it one day at a time, and it's worth it.
It's worth it. Our job is worth it. This is what I've wanted to do since I was a child. So to me, sacrifices, it's worth it for me.
Absolutely. So we're gonna, I went to confession today and had a really good talk with my priest. So, he kind of gave me a different outlook on things. So I'm definitely gonna try to keep things positive and, just keep on pushing through everything and be thankful for what I have, and, be thankful that, Buffalo Wild Wings provided the food for us, and Dunkin' Donuts. So, those hard workers are out there still providing a service to everybody, which is amazing. Thank you all so much for doing that. You guys are just as important as we are by still being able to provide food for people, which is totally awesome. So thank you guys so much for that. And we chose buffalo wings and donuts because we're talking about the murder of Jerry Brudos, who is known as the lust killer or the shoe slayer killer, something like that.
The shoe fetish slayer.
Yeah, the shoe fetish slayer, that's it. So he's a super weird dude who was into shoes, and he did this in the state of Oregon, and that's, I guess, when I Googled Oregon, like, the two main foods that came up were chicken wings and donuts. So we don't have a Voodoo Donuts here where we are located, but I wish we did, because all we got is Dunkin'. Even though Dunkin' is not, I'm not dissing Dunkin', but.
Although I am disappointed from this mixture of mixed half dozen donuts they gave us today.
No chocolate, really, and this silly lime green one right here.
It's not St. Patrick's Day anymore. There's clovers on that.
How long has that been?
I don't know. And a plain, and I think this is one of those pancake donuts. I don't know. This is the worst assortment of mixed donuts I think I've ever received. But you know what? It's okay, because they're still going to be good.
Yeah.
I just wish there was
a chocolate,
or like a French curler in there, or, a jelly donut, which is my favorite.
Which the French curler I don't understand, because it's basically like fried air and sugar. So
look, they're fucking delicious, okay?
They're not, they're air.
They're delicious.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead and jump into it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching this. We really appreciate it. All the support we can get is amazing. So thank you guys.
Thank you very much.
Okay, you want to get started?
Yes, we will get started. So I don't know if you guys have noticed, but we got a little bit of a different background going on today.
Oh, yeah. Got some of my high heel shoes back here.
just a little homage to our story. You know, put some shoes out here just to add to the creepiness, because this guy was a fucking sicko, you guys. Sicko. He's up there with the sickos.
He's got red hair, first of all, and I am not getting on people with red hair. It's just not my thing. My daughter has red hair, and she's the most beautiful little girl ever. But it just adds to the serial killer profile that Brittany and I have created on our own.
Yeah. There's a couple of, like, distinctive traits that people have that we feel, you know, you might be a psychopath. If you have,
like that guy who stared at us really hard that one time
at work.
At work, it was so creepy, guys. He looked into my soul, and I did not like it at all.
No, we didn't. Okay, so we'll just tell that quick story real quick because we've already started talking about it, and now I feel like we have to explain it. So we discharge our patients at the end of the day after they've had surgeries or their dental procedures. Well, it is either Ashley or I's job to take the discharge instructions out to the owners, discuss what they have to do at home for aftercare for their pets to make sure the recovery process is the way it should be.
Make sure there's not any complications.
Yes. So this guy, I went out first, and I explained to him the...
No, I went out first.
You went out first?
I went out first.
Yes, she
and
did
then
go out
I
first.
told
Yes,
you.
Yes. Okay.
And yeah.
So Ashley had went out first, and she had her discussion with him, and she came back, and she was like, look, that guy has dead eyes. You got to go out there and look at him. I really think he's a psychopath. I was like, all right. Okay, you're just being funny.
He just creeped me out. No.
So I go out there, and immediately the hair's sticking up on my arms. I feel like I need to protect myself. I just got a gut feeling like this guy's no good. Maybe I should stay away from him, keep my distance, don't give him any personal information.
Well, he read your personal information just by looking in your eyes. Like, but maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was just, maybe he was just super creepy because he did have a dog, and psychopaths, you know, I don't really think that they're going to be the ones that get their dog spayed. So, anyways, moving on. Talking about Jerry Brudos.
Jerry Brudos. So, Mr. Jerry Brudos was born January 31st, 1939. And he was born in a small town called Webster, South Dakota. They didn't stay there very long. His family moved around a lot. They actually ended up in Oregon, and they moved around quite a few places until they settled in Salem, Oregon. And this is when Jerry was 5 years old. Jerry was the youngest of 3 sons. He had two older brothers, and his mother was extremely upset about that because she had already had 2 boys, and she really had her heart set on a girl, and she made that known. She was very mean to Jerry. He acted very feminine when he was younger, and they did not like that. They made fun of him all the time.
His mom was like super overbearing and like belittling to him.
Yes. So when Jerry was 5, he actually found a singular stiletto shoe in the junkyard. I don't know why he was in the junkyard at 5 years old by himself.
Because it's 1944 and that's what they did.
I guess that's what you do in 1944.
Picture it's 1944 and you're a 5-year-old kid out there playing with a freaking Louis Vuitton or something.
Yeah.
That's what I imagine. I don't know if
that would be in the junkyard, but it was a red shoe. It was in fact a red shoe that he found. So he brought this shoe home and he loved it so much. He put it on, he walked around the house with it, and when he was caught with the shoe, his mother lost her shit. She was yelling at him. She took the shoe from him. She actually burned the shoe in front of him. And experts say that this moment is when he developed his unhealthy obsession with shoes and women's garments. So, Mr. Jerry, now that he started this little fetish that he has of shoes, he starts stealing shoes from the neighborhood. He starts going to other women's houses. He goes, you know, because back in those days, they didn't have dryers, you guys. They had to hang their clothes out on a clothesline. Well, he would go to his neighbors' houses and steal the women's underwear and bras and undergarments off the clothesline. And he would take them home, and he had a little collection going. He even he attempted to steal his first grade teacher's shoes from school.
Like, how do you do that?
I don't know.
Like, did he try to steal them off of her feet?
Maybe, like, it was during gym class or whatever, and she had changed her shoes. But they didn't say whether or not it was a PE teacher. I don't even know if they had PE back then. I'm assuming they did. I think it was called phys ed, actually.
No, I think he was totally into high heels, and I bet you anything that she was wearing high heels in school. I don't know.
It doesn't say in the articles whether he tried to steal them off of her feet or if they were just randomly sitting in the classroom somewhere. So,
moving on.
His fetish started to get worse and worse. We'll skip ahead a few years. He had spent a lot of his teen years in and out of therapy because of these fetishes that he had, and his family was confused by it. They didn't know what to think. I honestly probably think they were scared of him a little bit.
I mean, it's kind of weird.
It is weird. And his mother, throughout this whole time, is still being an overbearing parent and is completely disgusted with her son, talking down to him all the time, calling him gross names, and this affected him. So at 17, he actually started to progress a little bit more. Instead of just stealing undergarments, he started stalking women in his area. And he found this 17-year-old when he was 17, and he attempted to rape her and steal her shoes, and she ended up getting away because this old couple found them in the middle of his attack on her and called the police. So at this point, Jerry was arrested and taken to the Oregon State Hospital, the loony bin, and he was put under observation. It was discovered while he was at the hospital that the reason that he had these fetishes for shoes is because of his hatred for his mother and for all women, to be honest with you. He was a woman hater. Misogynistic.
That's what he was diagnosed with.
He was diagnosed with schizophrenia.
And misogyny.
And I didn't read that. But he was diagnosed with schizophrenia. And while he was in this hospital, he is talking to these therapists about his fetishes and about his fantasies. And one of his fantasies was that he wanted to buy this big deep freezer and kill all these women, stick them in the freezer, and mold their bodies in sexual positions to use it at later times.
Ew.
Yeah.
Ew.
It was also discovered in these therapy sessions that he had dug a hole into the side of a hill, like a cave almost. He was starting a tunnel, and he wanted to use that tunnel to bring women there to be sex slaves.
Yeah.
Knowing this, the hospital knowing these things, knowing that he has these shoe fetishes and these underwear fetishes, and that he's already attacked one woman, and that he's been diagnosed with schizophrenia, what do? They decide to fucking let him go, you guys. Okay, so the problem is, back in the 50s and 60s, serial killers were not a thing. I mean, they were a thing because they've been a thing since the beginning of time.
Right.
But the rest of the public didn't know about that, didn't know what term to use to call these people. They didn't. A serial killer was not a term used. This is when they started to really start focusing on finding people, profiling, and
the FBI coming into play, and finally coming up with a way to describe what these animals should be called.
Yes. So, saying that, Jerry was released from the hospital, and in 1961, Jerry married a 17-year-old girl. He was 23 at the time.
22?
22. And he married a 17-year-old girl and had 2 children with her. Now, this bride that he had, I don't know what the deal is with her. I haven't really made up my mind about her yet because, yes, you could be really naive and be afraid of your husband. But saying that, I feel like she had to have known this crazy shit that started happening in her house. How do you live with somebody that you have secret places in your house? Like the garage that we're going to talk about later in the attic. Jerry was very protective of these rooms in his house. He actually installed an intercom outside of the garage, and his wife and children would have to buzz him on that intercom before they could enter the room.
So, I mean, and I just think that, like, if you're already kind of like a mentally unstable person, and then you get met up with somebody like Jerry Brudos, like, it probably was easy to brainwash her.
Yeah.
I'm not taking up for her or anything like that because, I mean, it's not really known if she was an accomplice or not, but...
And she was cleared of all charges, we will say that.
Yeah. But, you know, I just think that during that time, it had to have been hard for her to be like, oh my gosh, my husband is doing weird stuff in the basement. And, you know, having to just, I don't know. I think she was easily influenced, and I think she was easily brainwashed. And once she's brainwashed, I mean, we know how all cults work and everything. Once you're brainwashed, you just do whatever that person says.
So she did start to decline his advances with some things that he was wanting to do at home. Like I said earlier, she was made to do housework in just stilettos.
Butt naked.
Butt naked in stilettos. At first, she was like, all right, this is not a big deal. This is my husband. This is what he wants to make him happy. I'm going to just do it. But then Jerry started getting weirder. And he would put on women's clothing and just pop up in a room, hey, with his underwear and bra on. And look, I have no problem with men wanting to dress up as women. If that's what you want to do, that makes you happy, more power to you. I am proud of you for that. But if my husband that I married, and I knew nothing about this when I married, came into a room and was dressed in lingerie, I feel like I wouldn't...
It would be a red flag.
It would be a red flag for me. And I don't think I would be able to continue that relationship. So, saying that, Brudos started collecting shoes and underwear in this garage. He began complaining about migraines and blackouts, and he said this was the reason why he started going on these nightly panty raids. That's what I'm going to call it, but that's not what it says in the articles. But he would go out to neighbors' houses and steal shoes and underwear.
Yeah. Panty raid. I'm sorry, I don't like the word panty. Like, it's just...
Oh, God. Just one of those people.
I'm one of those people. Whatever, you don't like the...
Don't say it.
Okay. Oh, God. All right. So, he began kind of like his murder spree in 1968. And it lasted about 15 months or so. And his first victim was a woman named Linda Slauson. She was 19 years old, and she was a door-to-door salesman for, saleswoman, I guess I should say. That's the correct term. For encyclopedias. So if y'all don't know what an encyclopedia is, it's basically this collection of books that has all of this vast information in it, and people would actually go from door to door to sell them.
This was before the internet.
This was before the internet, and so that's how you looked up your information. My parents actually had a set of encyclopedias when I was a kid. So.
Mine too.
So anyway, so she was actually, she was young, she was 19, and she was not quite sure where she needed to go. And so when she got off the bus in this neighborhood, she saw Jerry Brudos standing in his yard. And so she approached him and she asked him if he was the person that she was supposed to meet to sell the encyclopedias. So he took this opportunity and said, yeah, come on in the house. We'll talk about it. And he even said, my wife and kids are upstairs. So we'll go downstairs to the basement where we can have a little bit more privacy. So once they were down there, Jerry pulled up a stool for her. And when she had her back to him, he hit her over the head with a 2x4 and knocked her unconscious. After she was already unconscious, he strangled her, posed her in sexual positions, and then eventually told his wife and kids that they needed to go out and get food. And so they did, and while they were gone, he continued to like dress her up in other underwear, undergarments. And then when they came home, he acted like nothing was happening because he was a true psychopath. And he like even sat down with them and like had a conversation with him, drank a beer, and then went back downstairs to finish his work, and where he cut off her left foot with a hacksaw and used that to model shoes and kept it in a freezer. Mm-hmm. So then once he was done with her body, he dumped it in the Willamette, if I'm pronouncing that right? Willamette River. But it was said that he had kept the bodies for some time, but no, couldn't find really like how long he would keep the bodies for.
I read one article that said he would keep them between 3 and 5 days because that's when they would start to stink.
Okay. So then fast forwarding to, so that happened. So Linda Slauson was murdered January 26, 1968. So then he didn't kill again, as far as we know, until November 26, 1968. And that victim's name was Jan Susan Whitney. It was a kind of, what do they call it? Like a crime of opportunity or something. Yeah. Where she was traveling on Interstate 5 and her car broke down. And once her car broke down, he's driving along that same interstate, stops to help her. But then, guess what? He murders her.
Yep.
He strangles her with a leather strap, rapes her, and rapes her after she's already dead. So he basically becomes a necrophiliac at this point. And then he kept the body and he hung it in his garage from like a pulley system that he had made for several days, which he then would dress and undress the body. He photographed it, had sex with it.
A lot.
Oh, God. And he even cut off one of her breasts, which then turned into, he used it as a paperweight. Yeah. So that's just disturbing in itself. So once he was done with her body, he went and dumped that in the Willamette River as well. And at this point, Slauson's foot was beginning to rot, so he also threw that in the river. So,
I mean, you can only
had to get rid of that.
Unfreeze and freeze and unfreeze and freeze and dress up a foot in a shoe
for so long,
so many times before the skin starts to slough off. I would assume.
Yeah. So I don't even want to know. So then we have Karen Sprinker, who she disappeared on March 27th, 1969. She was only 18 years old and she was abducted at gunpoint from a department store. She was, so this one was a little different because this one was so out in public and it was daylight and everything. And he attacked her at gunpoint, but there wasn't like, you know, it didn't look like any foul play or anything. And so he took her, killed her, dressed her up in women's clothes, hung her from his pulley system, blah, blah, blah. We've heard this before, had sex with her dead body. He cut off both of her breasts and made paperweights out of those.
Yep.
And then just, I'm sorry, this guy is just totally fucking weird. It's just so fucking weird. And he apparently was a super strong guy. And so he tied her body to a car transmission, which is like super heavy.
Oh yeah, they're heavy.
Like you have to have like a winch and stuff to.
I don't know shit about cars. I don't
put
know.
them in a car. Like I don't know.
I wouldn't be able to
I've
lift
seen.
it.
Right. And so that's what he ties her body to, and then dumps it in the Willamette River. So it's just I don't know. Like he was able to pick that up and throw her in the river like that. But okay, whatever. So then we have his third victim, Linda Saley. She was 22 and she was abducted from a mall parking lot as well, where he brought her home and I guess he raped her while she was still alive.
Yeah, she was the only one that was raped while she was still alive.
And then he killed her by strangulation and had sex with her dead body as well. But he did not cut off her breasts because they were too pink. What does that even mean?
I don't even know. I guess he liked more brown nipples.
Were they... What? Okay.
Everybody's got different color nipples, you guys. And apparently he had a liking to the pink nipples.
Oh my gosh, apparently so. So he decided at this point that he was going to attempt to run an electrical current through her body to make it move, which that didn't work.
I read in one of the other books that I have that he actually used hypodermic needles and stabbed them into her chest and hooked up the two ends of the hypodermic needles to a car battery.
What?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
God.
He's a fucking weirdo, guys.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So Linda, her body was found in the Big Tom River by our fishermen. Okay. So everybody was like, what? Like, I guess at this point they still hadn't really connected the dots as to that they had a serial killer on their hands, because again, the term serial killer was not a thing. So they didn't know what was going on. And it wasn't until they had found Jan Whitney's body on July 27th, 1969. Remember, she had been abducted in November of 1968. They didn't find it until July of 1969. So they were like, okay, there's definitely got to be something going on here. And so then there are a couple of other victims of Jerry Brudos, but he didn't kill them because I guess they were able to fight him off, or he just didn't handle things as well. I
feel like he started to get sloppy.
Yeah.
Because he was getting cocky that he wasn't being found.
Yeah. So two of the women, one of them, her name was Sharon Wood. She was 24. He tried to abduct her at gunpoint. She got away. And the same with Gloria Smith. She was only 15 and he tried to abduct her, but she got away as well. So there's only really 3 confirmed cases. 4 confirmed cases, 4 confirmed cases of people that he actually murdered. So Jerry Brudos, I don't like talking about it because it's just so disturbing to me that so basically what he would do, I mean, we've just talked about this, he would dress up these bodies and then masturbate to them, but he would also be dressed up in woman's clothing.
I found a picture of that today. by the way.
Ew, did you?
We'll put it up.
Ew, okay. So it wasn't until these college students finally came to the police, and they told them that this guy who was claiming to be a Vietnam veteran was like calling them and asking them out for dates. Like he wanted to have a Coke and conversation, and I don't know. A Coke. Let's go have a Coke.
Pickup lines in the 60s, man.
I'll have a Coke. And so they thought it was weird, but they all gave the same description of this guy. He was tall, he had red hair, and he had freckles.
And he was pudgy.
And
I read a lot.
And he was pudgy. Yeah. Finally, the police came down with the name of Jerry Brudos, and he gave them the wrong address, because they wanted to come and question him, and he was like, okay, we'll come to my house, but he gave them the wrong address. But they finally tracked him down, and as soon as they did, he basically confessed to everything.
Yeah.
Because he's a little bitch.
I mean, it's kind of hard to deny what the fuck you've been up to when you've got a garage.
Yeah.
With a pulley system and resin titties laying around. You can't really deny your crime when you've got body parts.
Mm-mm.
And a bunch of lingerie
and
the
shoes. Photographs.
Yeah, and the photographs. That's what really did him in.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the photographs, and I wasn't able to find this photograph, but is a picture of one of his victims dressed in black lingerie, hung from the ceiling. And it's like an upskirt shot of her nude, with very skimpy lingerie on. And right in the very bottom corner of the picture, there's Jerry Brudos' face. And that's the one that actually put the nail in the coffin for him. That's what did it. That got him caught. I don't know why you would do that.
I don't know why you would do that either. I mean, but I guess if you want to keep, a memento or a treasure,
yep,
then that's what you do. But yeah, whatever.
Well, I think
asshole.
he kept a lot of treasures. Like, I feel like serial killers, every single one of them keeps trophies from their kills because they want to continuously live that moment when they took somebody else's life. But Jerry took it to the next level because he had
the boobies.
He had the boobies, like the booby molds. He had
a bracelet from Jan Whitney.
He had numerous underwear, garments, and shoes, like a whole pile of fucking shoes. And then the pictures, he kept a lot from these murders because he was proud of them.
Disgusting.
So, moving on. On June 28th, 1969 is when Jerry was in court in his trial. He pled guilty to 3 first-degree murders for Sprinkler, Whitney, and Say Lee. The 4th was his first victim, Slauson, but he was never tried nor convicted for that case because the body was never found. And she's also the only one that he never took pictures of. So, he was only charged for 3 of those murders out of the 4. And he was given 3 consecutive life sentences. Which means, consecutive, if you guys don't know what that means back to back. It means you don't get a fucking break. You spend 3 life sentences back to back. And you can't do that because you only have one fucking life. So, AKA, Jerry is going to spend the rest of his fucking life in jail where he should.
Where he did.
Where he did. So, Whitney's body was actually found a month after, but they were still able to convict him of that murder because of the fact that they had pictures. So, while incarcerated, Jerry continued to be a fucking weirdo. He would write to these major shoe companies and ask for catalogs. This guy had stacks upon stacks of just shoe catalogs in his cell. And he was allowed to do it because it wasn't really pornographic, but that was his porn.
Ew.
Yeah. So, Jerry, the sicko, had all these shoe catalogs. He continued to brag about his crimes. And he also continued to repeatedly try to appeal his conviction.
However, the guards said that he was an ideal prisoner. Like, he was a good prisoner.
Yeah.
But they also said that that would not play into any, like, parole hearing.
I feel like he knew how to play the game. He knew how to be nice to get his way because he's a psychopath. So he knew what he had to do and knew what he had to say to stay under the radar and make sure that his prison sentence and his prison stay was as smooth as butter.
But he wasn't popular with the other inmates.
Oh no, he got beat up a lot.
Yeah, he did.
A lot.
Which doesn't surprise me.
No, that does not surprise me. So, Jerry continued to try to appeal these cases. Up until the 90s, he was appealing. And he insisted that he could not be convicted. He wanted it overturned because one of the pictures that they used for evidence, he claimed, was not of the person they were convicting him of killing. AKA, he was pretty much saying, I killed somebody else and you guys don't know about it. So, the parole board didn't give a shit. They said, look, you're never getting out, so you might as well just stop trying. And he spent the rest of his life in jail. So, Brudos actually died on March 28th, 2006 from liver cancer.
Good.
Can't say that I'm sad about that.
Nope.
Because he deserved to die a painful death. And at the time of his death, he was the longest incarcerated prisoner in the state of Oregon, totaling a number of 37 years that he spent behind bars.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. So, Mr. Brudos is actually a pretty popular serial killer.
Thanks to the wonderful show.
Thanks to a lot of shows and a lot of books. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the show Mindhunter, but it's an excellent show on Netflix that we highly recommend that you watch because Ashley and I both really like it. It's pretty much just like we were talking about earlier, this time period in the 60s, 50s, and 60s. Serial killers was not a term that was used. That's not what people used to describe these kind of killers. And the FBI really started to put a lot of their efforts and time into figuring this out and into figuring out profiling for these types of murders. So, excuse me, Mindhunter is pretty much about this FBI team that they put together to study serial killers. And one of the episodes, actually he's in a couple of episodes, where, and I think I have a picture we'll put up of a side-by-side of the actual Brudos and then the guy that played Brudos in the show. And it's uncanny. Like, this show really did a good job picking cast.
They did.
They did a good job
like
picking
with Ed
cast.
Kemper,
Yeah. That's
Right
another
on.
one we'll have to do.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to let Ashley tell you what is...
No, why me? I don't want to talk about this. So if you haven't seen the show, it's pretty disturbing, okay? It's these FBI agents who develop like the behavioral science unit, and they start profiling these killers, and they go to these prisons and they interview them and they try to talk to them, and some of them don't want to talk because they don't want to, one, confess to the crimes that they have done, and two, it's like their own personal business, like as to what is going on inside their head. So they have to come up with clever ways to get people to talk.
Do you want me to just say
Oh my God, it doesn't fucking matter. So, we don't know if this actually happened in real life. Yeah. I didn't read anything about it actually happening, but, I mean, I don't know why the show would put it in there, but, so the FBI agents, they bought him a pair of high-heeled shoes, and he starts talking, and once he's done talking, he takes one of the shoes off to the corner. I'm way too immature for this.
Look,
he basically just jacks off to the shoe with the FBI agents and the guards in the room.
In the room.
It's disgusting.
Doesn't give a shit. just starts jerking it right in front of everybody because of the shoes done turned him on so much.
That and talking about his mom. I think that was the other thing that they were talking with him about at that time was his mom. So he was a fucked up individual. Yeah. He was just I'm just disturbed by it.
Another popular movie that I'm sure everybody has seen is Silence of the Lambs.
Pretzel.
And the character in that movie, Buffalo Bill, is loosely based on a mixture of Jerry Brudos and Ed Gein, which we promise you that is going to be another case, because that, I don't want to say is my favorite serial killer, but if I had to say I had a favorite serial killer, it would be Ed Gein. So that character in Silence of the Lambs is loosely based on those two killers.
Fuck me? I'd fuck me.
I'm sure you guys have seen Silence of the Lambs, where Buffalo Bill, he likes to dress up in women's clothing. He kidnaps and murders girls after he keeps them hostage in this pit in his basement, and then proceeds to kill them and take their skin off so he can wear their skin. So, Jerry Brudos is pretty, what's the word I'm looking for? Infamous in the serial killer world. And he has inspired a lot of movies and shows, and he was a sick guy, you guys.
I just don't understand the shoe thing, I guess. I just can't get past that. I don't know what it is.
Foot fetish is a real thing.
I know it is. I know it's a real thing, but
you could sell a pair. You could sell a foot photo to weirdos on the internet for like $500, just to let you guys know.
Have you looked into this? Ew, you have!
Look.
Brittany!
Not that I would ever do it, but I'm just saying, like, I'm curious about things like that. Like, look, you can make some money doing some crazy shit.
Okay, we're not here to judge, but we are, because that's weird. So, that's the end of our story.
If you're going to send foot pictures of somebody, make sure you don't give them your address. Be safe about it if you're going to do that out there.
How about you just don't do it at all?
Some people hurt for money, man. You can't judge people for
they hurt for money.
Struggles.
Fine, they hurt for money. Okay, well, I guess, with this pandemic going on, I guess I know what you're going to be doing.
Don't search my name on the internet. I'm just kidding.
Oh, gosh. Okay. That's the end of our... Stop it. My animals are so crazy.
All right, guys.
That was our story for this week. Sorry. We're a little distracted. I got a cat back here doing something. And my dog out there.
Y'all hear her? There's something out there.
Oh, God. It's the serial killer with the shoe fetish.
I wish somebody would. I wish somebody would come up in here.
Shut the fuck up. Oh, my gosh. You're just asking for it.
Anyways, guys.
Thanks so much. We're getting through this. We will. We'll all get in there, wash your hands.
Yep.
Don't hog the toilet paper.
Or anything else for that matter.
Yeah. You finally found your hamburger,
I
right?
did finally get hamburger meat. We talked about this last week.
Oh,
did remember I told you that little lady that
my days just run together.
I know. It's been a crazy couple of weeks, you guys. We're there with you.
Yep.
Hopefully these videos that we're going to continue to put up will distract some people.
This is what we look forward to every week.
It is.
So it's nice.
Yeah. So we're going to continue to do this until the government's like, you can't leave your fucking house.
Yeah, and then we'll figure out, maybe we can do it through Skype or something. Maybe. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I don't know if it gets to that point. Yeah. There's some people that think that it won't.
Yeah.
So, thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, if you like us, hit the subscribe button and the like button. Share our video. And thanks for all of the advice in the comments. I hope I chewed with my mouth closed a little bit better this time.
We appreciate everybody's comments.
Yeah, we really do. Thank you guys so much. Y'all take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye.